Hello everybody. So people like it whenever I do vlogs just showing different parts of Toronto. So I figured this would be a good one to do because it's going to be winter soon. Winter is coming. And who knows how long before the government tears it down. It's kind of a really fascinating example of, I don't know, urban ruin. It looks like something out of Stalker. So we're going to go take a look at it. This is Ontario Place. Let's see. Ontario Place. And yeah, I'm here along the shore in Toronto. It's really too bad like Toronto's so like paused, because it is a beautiful city in a lot of ways. At least like the natural beauty. There's trees all over the place. You have Lake Ontario, which is really beautiful. So from what I understand, Ontario Place was created as I believe it was government owned, or still is government owned, as a educational theme park. We have a couple different parks here in Ontario. The major one is, of course, Wonderland, which is somewhere between a theme park and an amusement park. It was initially at least kind of the Paramount Pictures answer to Disney and Disneyland and Universal Studios. I like to go there for the water park. I have no tolerance whatsoever for rides. I can't even go on like a log flume or like the smallest roller coaster. And Wonderland kind of developed towards having more and more extreme roller coasters. And that's kind of, I think, what it's known for. But yeah, they have like any other theme park. They had like stunt shows, stuff like that. The movies the movies that Paramount Pictures has aren't like particularly impressive. I think Top Gun is one of the big ones. They had Hanna-Barbera, I think. It's not super impressive, but it was kind of cool. Like I said, I don't really like rides. I mean, I like things like, I don't know, motion simulators, or like the Harry Potter ride at Universal Studios, or kind of stuff like that. Or things that are just kind of more interactive. The thing I kind of like about theme parks is just like all the interesting like buildings and architecture, and when they have like ruins or statues or stuff like that. Like I remember when I was at Universal Studios in Florida, it was pretty cool to see what they did with the Harry Potter land. Granted, they destroyed half of the lost continent for it, and they destroyed the dueling dragons, but it was still pretty interesting. Unfortunately, though, I think they've turned it into like Marvel Land or something, so that sucks. God, it's been a long time since I've been to Disney. I'll have to see what like schedules are like or something. I'm kind of tempted, if they have some really, really good deal, to go there again, maybe after COVID's over. So yeah, my family and I went there. I think I was like 10 or 11. And it was kind of cool because back then they had, I think it was a 5-day pass or something like that. But it didn't expire. So we went to the 4 parks, 1 day at each. And then when we came back years later, we went to, I guess it's not called MGM anymore. It's called Disney Hollywood Studios. But it is, I think Disney does live up to what your expectations are, at least it did at that age. There's just a lot of neat stuff, even if you're not a big ride guy like me. There's kind of just a lot of cool things to see and do there. I don't really get why people diss Epcot so much. I kind of liked Epcot. Maybe because it's a very like, I don't know if the term would be like retro futuristic or something like that. But yeah, so there was an IMAX theater here. I'm not sure if the IMAX theater is still open. Over there we have, I forget what stadium that is, but the CNE, or the Canadian National Exhibition's over there. So who knows if we're ever going to have another CNE, given COVID. So Ontario Place shut down, I don't really remember if it was like 4 or 5 years ago. So it's just kind of been in limbo. The Ford government had been wanting to put a casino up here. Once again, look at all the beautiful greenery you have. That's always something whenever I go to Europe I kind of miss versus North America. Just how much greenery we have. But I guess the price of that is urban sprawl. But in the words of Jingles, you picks your poison, you takes your shots. I'm not exactly sure what that thing even is. I think it was for various displays, and that is the IMAX cinema bubble over there. I haven't looked it up because I keep forgetting, but I'm sure a lot of movies are filmed there. This place has kind of an Epcot feel. I don't know if Epcot's like a 70s or I guess a 70s space age thing maybe, but like I said, it's just kind of interesting urban ruin. Oh, that's kind of neat. They've made some changes over there, so we'll take a look at the jogger paradise I think they've set up. Hopefully they haven't completely dismantled the log flume. So I think I came here once as a child. Because I didn't really like rides, my parents didn't really take me to these things that often. If I went to Wonderland, because my sister likes rides and my dad and mother do, I would normally just go off on my own and just kind of watch some of the shows or something like that. Just not really my thing. I always liked the Royal Ontario Museum, and maybe sometime I'll do a video in there because it's pretty cool. Or it was. It was like this nice Victorian, kind of looks like something you'd see in London for a museum building, but it got torn down and replaced by a literal tumor. Google Royal Ontario Museum and you'll see what I mean. But I like to go there a lot with my grandfather, and the Science Center, which probably needs major renovations. It's really kind of behind the times. Those are kind of the two things that like every big city I think needs. A like nice metropolitan museum and a science center. They even had that in London with the museum of, I think it was called Science and Industry, or was that Chicago? I can't really remember, but when I was there they had kind of a cool exhibit on Watt and like the first turbine engines. So that was pretty cool. Also, I think those are free. It's not really a thing I think in Canada, but in the United States and Britain, federally owned museums I think are free. Like the Victoria and Albert one I think was. And I think the Imperial War Museum was as well. So let's just go take a look up here. So this is the log flume. Like I said, it really reminds me of something out of Stalker. And I know I compare everything to Stalker, but I put a lot of time into those over the years, so I think I have the right to comment on it. Yeah, it looks like one of those grain elevators in Cordon. So here we have the more, I guess, direct view of the log flume. Honestly, I have trouble even really telling the path it took. I think it went from there over to there, and then I think there was maybe an up ramp there. I'm not really sure, but it does look kind of cool. And then you have like the remnants of the fake cliff they built. So I think this park was supposed to be educational in nature, and like most educational things, they just often don't upgrade them. Although I forget what it was called, the science museum they have in Philly was really good. Philly, I know a lot of people probably think it's weird, but I went to Philly on vacation one summer. I think I just went there for 4 or 5 days. I got a really good deal on a hotel. And I flew Porter Air, and Porter Air is pretty inexpensive as well. So there's a lot of things to do in Philly. Just a lot of stuff to do with Independence Hall, a lot of stuff to do with Benjamin Franklin. There's a number of different art galleries, like a wide range of different ones. I took a couple tours, like walking tours, and those were pretty neat. Yeah, like Independence Hall, there was I think it was the Constitution Museum, which had a big exhibit on Hamilton, which was pretty cringe. There is the Museum of Human Rights, which was really cringe. The Science Museum was cool. I can't really tell if it was neat or cringy, but they had a exhibit there on the development of video games. So they had like a huge arcade of like OG stuff. I don't really know the history of arcade games, like Space Invaders and Pong and Centipede and Yar's Revenge and stuff like that. Here we go. That is, that's Mississauga over there. I think it's Mississauga. I don't know, I'm very bad with urban geography. Let's see here. Or is that Etobicoke? Actually, I think that's Etobicoke. I don't know. Give me a break. Yeah, I almost feel like I should have an anomaly detector or something when I'm going around here to try to find a artifact. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Stalker 2 got announced. I'm cautiously optimistic. Who knows? Given that this is like the Stalker team, it's probably going to be like a disaster and take like a decade to build. And then when it comes out, it's going to be another like, I don't know if you call Stalker an R-Tour game, but like just this random thing that's amazing, but has tons of bugs and like isn't particularly well optimized. The thing with Stalker though is like the problems with it from a programming standpoint actually really help the game. At least I find that, just because like it just kind of adds to the randomness, like enemies showing up, the AI sometimes being really good, sometimes being really bad. It makes it, I think, a better horror game. It's kind of hard to scare me, or in movies it's hard to scare me. In video games it's a little bit easier. Like I couldn't get through Outlast, I think it's called, the one in the insane asylum where you don't have a weapon. I got, I think, about an hour into it and it was just too intense. Horror games where you don't have a weapon are a lot scarier, and I just don't really enjoy them that much. I think the only one I've ever played to the end was Amnesia: The Dark Descent, which was pretty good, but I don't really have much of a desire to play any more of them. Yeah, Amnesia was interesting. I remember when I was a kid, one of the first games my dad got me was Myst. And I played that a lot just because if you're like not as old as I am, I'm not that old I guess, but it was very interesting to see graphics that good. I mean, the graphics were so good because it was like art, like static art. But to see something that looked that impressive and had like I think it had full motion video and voice. Granted, I sucked at it and I had no idea what I was doing, and the only time I got through puzzles was by complete accident, but that was it was interesting. I've never been a big point and click guy. I remember back in high school people were trying to get me into Sam and Max and Grim Fandango and Day of the Tentacle and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that I've gotten older. I have trouble kind of... Okay, so I'm out here on the pier. So there's a marina here, and the marina's still functional. It's raining now, but that's okay. I have a really good rain jacket I got for my trip to Britain, so the rain doesn't really bother me. So let's see here. Yes, we got the marina. We got the Epcot S Dome in the distance. Maybe that was just kind of a thing, like every place built in the 70s needed a giant golf ball. I don't know. Yeah, you have a lot of yacht clubs in Toronto because there's a lot of wealthy people, and it is on a big lake. At a couple of the companies I worked for, it's not uncommon for their big yearly party to have some sort of, oh, that's interesting, some sort of a boat cruise. One, when I was working for a bigger company, they rented out like a big boat, and the other, when it was a smaller company, one of the owners had his own yacht, so we like went out on that. So that was pretty cool. Um, it's always kind of a bit awkward whenever I go to company things because they always give me drink tickets, but I don't drink. And it always seems kind of silly to get like a Coke or something with it. I guess what I normally get, although I don't really drink soda aside from like special occasions anymore, is I like my ginger ale and cranberry juice. So that's about as fancy as I get, is lime and Coke or ginger ale and cranberry juice. I guess sometimes I'll get apple juice or something, but that was something I did back in the day when I was initially trying to lose weight. A year or two ago, no, I guess it was 2.5 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. For Lent, because Lent this year, I said I would go a month while staying strictly within a caloric limit. Last year, it was to stop engaging in degenerate activity. I'm sure you know what that means. And then the year before that, it was to stop drinking soda. So that was like diet, normal, all that kind of thing. I actually, because I used to drink a lot of it just because I worked downtown so much and I worked late a lot of the time. And it was kind of a vice because like I said, I don't drink, smoke, or like do drugs. Well, non-prescription drugs. So I drank a lot of diet soda. And when I stopped drinking that, I was able to lose weight pretty quick. I'd lost a lot of weight actually. I put a bunch on since becoming unemployed. Well, not a ton. I put 10 pounds on, which I'm 6'1", so it's not a massive amount. I'm nowhere near what I was at my heaviest, but I'm trying to get back on the wagon. It's just kind of hard, not having a regular schedule. Because like when you're unemployed, you kind of just get up whenever, you go to bed whenever, you eat whenever. And people say, well, Argent, you should just impose a schedule on yourself. And you can do that, but that's difficult. Oh, let's see. Some water that fell on the lens. So, right there. So we're going to go over through kind of the most stalkerish part of the park, as it were. So, yeah. We got a little internal marina. I think they used to have paddle boats or like bumper boats or something in there. So that was kind of neat. We have the obligatory, I don't know, Asian thing. I guess that's more Japanese. It's kind of interesting in Canada because the Japanese are kind of, I don't know if they're a more integral part of the kind of the Canadian people. Because we used to have a fair number. The Japanese, though, had like the highest rate of out marriage or race mixing. So basically all the Japanese are gone at this point. They just married into white families. And you have people who are like 1/4 or 1/8. But as I've said, it was kind of funny because my grandfather, who was pretty based, he really, really hated Chinese people, but one of his best friends was Japanese. Which is an attitude a lot of people get. I mean, I know a lot of people fetishize Japan, and Japan has a lot of problems. Particularly a lot of like really perverted, disgusting shit. But they are clean and they are polite. The few Japanese people I've met have always been very polite. I know most Japanese restaurants aren't actually owned by Japanese. But most Japanese restaurants I've been to have been spotless, just immaculately clean. Whereas most Chinese ones are really disgusting. And then Koreans are somewhere in between, but they're more towards the Japanese side. As I've said, the Chinese used to be very different, but the Cultural Revolution destroyed most of Chinese high culture. So now it's a mixture of like shit tier Han peasant culture and like Marxist-induced sociopathy, like what you had in the Soviet Union. Dialectic materialism or whatever. So it's really too bad. So here we have, I think that's part of the log flume. Once again, it looks like something in Stalker. But yeah, I know a lot of people really like to play up living in a rural area. But I like living in an urban area just because you have stuff like this within walking distance. Or just a, I guess in this case, a short streetcar ride. Or a subway ride. And there's just kind of parks all over the place. So you don't really get that necessarily in a rural area. You have to drive everywhere. Or like it's just like a cornfield or something. It's not really something built up. I don't know. There's a lot of other nice things about it, like you can normally walk to your church. That's one of kind of the nice things about being Catholic, and why I'd almost recommend it as your denomination. Pretty much anywhere you go on earth, there's going to be a Catholic church. Like, when I was in England, there's lots of Catholics in England, so there's not an issue finding a church there. If you go to different parts of America, there's just the rest of the log flume. There's not much of an issue finding one there, obviously. But if you're like Lutheran, or I guess Anglican churches are pretty widely available, or Calvinist, or just some of these denominations, you could probably find a Reformed church pretty much anywhere in North America or in England. But I doubt you can find a Reformed church in like Spain or Italy. At least not in most parts of those countries. Even if you go to I don't know, Japan or China, it's probably not too hard to find a Catholic church. So there's that aspect to it. Let's just finish looking around here. What was I thinking of? Oh yeah, so we got the, I don't know, there's that random like giant thing that's like made of styrofoam and has a light inside of it. I don't really get what it is. There's another one of those like edutainment things, a little display for the kiddies. Yeah, it's a good jacket. I got this from Eddie Bauer from an outlet mall. I think it was like 60 or 70% off or something. I think it was normally like $300 or $400, and I got it for like $150. But really good jacket. It's 100% waterproof, which is kind of a must if you're going to England, especially when you're going to England in November, which I think is when November. I kind of like going places in the winter in Europe, or the early spring, just because it's a lot cheaper and there's no lines for anything. So here's kind of the main village area. It looks a little less desolate because normally they don't have those chairs there. I'm not really sure why those were implemented. Maybe they were doing COVID relief concerts or something. So yeah, you just have this like ruins of like this 1970s-esque village. And like I said, they used to have shows there, and there'd be like little shops or exhibits inside of these things. But it's kind of nice that they've left it open to the public. To then you can still kind of come in here. As I've said, that's one of the things I will give Toronto a lot of credit for. They do prioritize having a lot of parks and a lot of green space. And I mean, that's even nice if I'm just going out to get food and it's like a nice day. I can go take my food and sit in the park and eat it. Or just because I go for probably about an hour walk every day. So it's nice to have stuff like that. Pretty much anywhere in the city. The one thing though is it's like there's this meme about cycling. That doesn't really work in Canada. Maybe some parts of the summer. But it's really, really hot and muggy here in the summer. And if you cycle, you're going to be covered in sweat. And in the winter, it's a Canadian winter. So do you really want to be riding a bike in like -10 weather with the streets covered in slush and cars sliding all over the place? Like, is that really something you want to be doing? I think for most people, the answer to that would be no. Although people do it anyways and they get hit by cars. I remember it was a big deal because there's like this lame thing called Vision Zero, where it's like even one person dying from traffic accidents is too many. And I think it was down to like 5. And I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. Like in a city of like 6 million people, like having fewer, like a dozen or fewer people die from car fatalities. Like, that's incredible. But that was viewed as a failure because, I don't know, people just don't understand the way real life works. I mean, I don't to a certain extent, but on like a grand level, like when you have 6 million people, there's always going to be some sort of like freak accident. Like if you have 4 million cars or whatever, one of them's probably just going to have their brakes snap at just the wrong moment and hit somebody, or someone's going to be drunk, or someone like... The fact they got it that far down, I think, is something to be celebrated rather than like lamented. But that's just kind of the way a lot of people are. You can't make the perfect the enemy of the good. Should they maybe see what they could do about the other situations? Yeah, but that's no real need to get down on yourself and say it's a failure when you set unrealistic expectations. So, yeah, that is our journey to Ontario Place. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you want me to do more kind of urban exploration videos, let me know.